We are April 19th, 2021. We're back from spring break. Hopefully all of you had a good break. I didn't want to start on this topic last class because it's so important. And I give presentations on this at Santa Monica and do it in other places on consumer credit and debt and things like that. Those of you who took advantage of the extra credit to watch my video that I shot with my friend Bridget and posted on my YouTube, I'm not going to do any more of those, I think, in that format, because it takes so long. I've got to get somebody else, we've got to shoot it and edit it, and it takes like several days just to get it done right. We have to do a bunch of takes. Any of you subscribe to my Instagram? I see a few names on here. I know a couple of you did. I'm going to be doing more like the Instagram ones. What do you guys think of those? Those I usually just do one take. Obviously, I do the research before, decide what I'm going to talk about, and then I just do one take. So basically, it takes me, on a good day, I can get it all done in under an hour. Yeah, my memes are killer, aren't they, Jorge? I have to admit that myself. You have a professor with a better meme game, I want to meet him or her, chat and see what I can learn. But no, I think they're pretty solid. I should get a raise or full-time position just on the back of my memes alone. We will see about that. All right, let's get back to it. But again, I'm going to be doing short videos like that, talking about a bunch of different topics, and it'll be in like, I'm going to do that black background with the white text, so you can just see like, oh, that's something I care about. That's what I want to learn about, etc. And then you can click on it. You don't have to guess or scroll through or anything. The idea is to try and make it very user-friendly. Welcome, Nick. It literally is my pleasure to make those memes. I do enjoy the hell out of it. All right, so
Let's
get back here. I actually applied for a full-time job at a different community college in Southern California, and I didn't even make it past the first round. I was a bit surprised. So never got to interview or anything else like that. So pretty disappointed, to be honest. Anyway.
I don't think they are hiring now.
I'm sorry?
There are positions available? Because
yeah.
At this time, I don't think they are hiring.
Yeah, no. There's a position available, and the application closed end of February, and I submitted, and they rejected me, I think this past week. So they didn't even want to bring me in for an interview or anything. So maybe they reached out to you guys and you guys all slag me off. Like, oh, he's terrible.
I'm recommending you. We can make reference to you.
Well, thank you. I might call on you guys, do some kind of movement, protest in the streets. No, anyway, all right. There's one thing we should be protesting in the streets about. It is consumer credit. And not a lack of it. In fact, quite the opposite. There's too much of it. So this is where I do the bulk of my volunteer work. And again, like with all the lectures, please feel free to bring your own experiences in. I don't, if you're not comfortable talking about something with your own finances, that's fine. Just say, oh, I'm not comfortable talking about that. But the more experiences you guys can share, I think the more we will all learn. I'll share my experiences, as well as I've worked with, at this point, probably 50 to 60 individuals on a volunteer basis. I do volunteer financial counseling, and usually it's just 1 or 2 meetings. People want to get an idea where they are, and people are usually panicked. Most times there's no real reason to be panicked. You can be concerned, and it's good to be concerned about that. But the way the system is set up, it's generally not. It's designed for you to get into debt, but it's designed for you to get into a debt that is manageable, as in you can still keep paying it, because it doesn't benefit the banks, etc., if you get into so much debt that you're just like, I'm done, I'm going to declare bankruptcy and not pay back any of the money I owe. That hurts them. But if you're in a situation where 30, 40, 60%, 70% of your income has to go to them automatically, they love that, right? To me, that's not much different than slavery. It's modern day slavery. And I think there are many, many, many flaws in our current economic, political system, whatever you want to call it, that facilitate this, that allow people to take on too much debt. So we'll talk about this. Please, how many people are in here now? 15. Wow. Okay. Pretty weak, but so it goes. Kudos to those of you who are here. Also, did you guys get my announcement about the guest speaker Thursday morning?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
if you can join, this guy's great. He started a business like around the tech boom, or shortly after. It all went to hell when the stock market went to hell. He had the company taken from him by the investors, and then like within 2 years, they sold it for 300 million bucks, and he got kind of out of it. He started another business, then he's currently starting another one. He's just got tons of experience, all kinds of fascinating stuff, and he's very open about it. He's very like, I'd be so pissed off. I'd be like, F you, I'm not going to talk about it. But he's really open about it, and it's great. It's a great opportunity for us to learn and to gain some knowledge from all of his experience, and we'll be able to ask him questions, all kinds of stuff like that. So that's on your, I sent out an announcement, the link's there. It's Thursday morning, 8 a.m. we start. Okay, so learning objectives, blah. What is consumer credit? Credit is an arrangement to receive cash, goods, or services now and pay for them in the future. You get stuff now, you pay for it later. Hey, that sounds awesome. I want a lot of stuff now, right? But I don't have the money for it. Well, back in the old days, what used to happen? What used to happen in the old days, if you wanted something now? I want a new record player. Most of you guys probably never even seen a record player.
People save.
I'm sorry?
People used to save.
You would have to save money. If you didn't have the money to buy it now, you couldn't have it now. You would have to wait. Well, waiting sucks, right? I want stuff now, right? That's like my son. I always try and do those things with him. You can have this now, or if you wait, you can have that. And you can see him just like, Sometimes he's like, oh, okay, I'll wait. You know? With credit, we don't have to wait. We can get the stuff we want now, even though we don't have the money. So do we have to pay for the stuff?
Yes.
Yeah, eventually we have to pay for it. It's just, it'll be in the future. And that is the gist of that short video of mine on YouTube. In the future, when you earn money, well, you've already spent it today. So that money you're earning next year is going to go toward the purchase you made today. Consumer credit is the use of credit for personal needs. We're not including a home mortgage. That's different. We're going to treat that different. So the use of personal needs by individuals and families. I want to buy avocado toast on Sunday morning at brunch with my friends and have bottomless mimosas. Do you have the $62 for it? No.
Yeah.
Okay, so how are you going to pay for that? Well, you could just tell your friends, hey, I can't go. And then they'll be like, oh, she's poor. We don't want to hang out. She's not
You don't want
fun.
that.
Yeah, she's not fun, right? He isn't cool. He doesn't like us. Whatever. No, obviously we don't want that. We want the gratification now. We want the avocado toast and the bottomless mimosas and hang out with our friends. So we use consumer credit to pay for that. 3 ways you can buy things. Well, if you have money saved up, you can use that. Oh, well, I have $743 in my savings account or my checking account. I can pay for the bottomless mimosa brunch that way. I can take money out of an ATM or something like that. Use present earnings. Oh, well, I'm working now. I'll earn money and then use it straight away. Or you can borrow against expected future income. No one knows the future. You never know what's going to happen. You might not have income in the future. You might have no income. You might have the same. You might have higher income. I hope all of you have much, much, much higher income in the future. And I hope you remember me, your favorite meme creating professor, when you do.
Mhm.
Each alternative has trade-offs. Well, if you pull money out of your savings, you're depleting your savings. That is presumably your emergency fund to use when times get tough, when, oh, I don't know, the government decides to shut down the entire world economy for a year. That's kind of an emergency. Spending current income on luxuries will eventually reduce future well-being. Why is that?
Because you're going to be worried in the future to pay what
Say that again?
you're going to be worried in the future. You don't have the money to pay what you spent already.
Yeah, so you won't have the money in the future. If you didn't spend it on bottomless mimosas, maybe you would have bought Bitcoin. Maybe you would have bought shares in Tesla. Maybe you would have invested that money and it would have grown and been worth, instead of the $62 you spent at brunch, you're like, how in God's name did I spend $62 at brunch, right? I was just gonna go out and have a piece of avocado toast. So you've given up that increase, your future well-being. You've used it right now on something. Spending and then the last one, spending future income now reduces funds available for future expenses. So now I've spent money that I haven't even earned yet.
Mhm.
Well, how am I going to, obviously I'm going to want to have bottomless mimosas in the future. How am I going to pay for those if I've already spent next week's money on my bottomless mimosa today? All right.
Mm.
You guys drink mimosas? No one? Is anyone even old enough to drink? I don't know. Whatever.
I love it.
Uses and misuses of credit. Before you use credit for a major purchase, consider, do I have the cash for the down payment? Do I want to use my savings for this purchase? Does this purchase fit my budget? This is something I always ask in my investments class. We just covered personal finance and had the quiz. Your income is X, you have to buy a car. How much do you spend? And this semester, it's actually quite good. The average answer is much, much lower. A year ago, year and a half ago, the average answer was almost double. So I tell students, you earn 50 grand a year and your apartment costs, I don't know, $1,500 a month. How much are you going to spend on a car? Majority of people said around 10 grand. But I had last couple of years, I had a bunch of students saying 30, 40, 50,000 bucks. That's ridiculous. Could I use the credit I need in a better way? Is there a way to put that money to use that is better than avocado toast? Well, almost certainly yes, is always the answer. Can I postpone this purchase? This is always a good thing to do. You just go online and you put something in your cart and then you wait a week. And you go, I still need that. What are the opportunity costs of postponing this purchase? What is an opportunity cost?
What you're giving up instead of.
Exactly. Exactly. Can you think of any examples? So who's gone to brunch recently? I haven't. I don't have any friends, so no one invites me to brunch. You guys probably have friends and get invited to brunch. How much does brunch cost?
No idea.
Per person,
Yeah, per person.
around 30, 40.
All right, so we'll round it up and say 40 or 50 bucks. Let's say $50.
Yeah, we did.
So what is your opportunity cost of the $50 that you spend on brunch?
How many mimosas I decide not to drink?
Okay, but think of what's another way to frame that question, right? It's Sunday morning and you go, okay, my options are A, go to brunch, have a bunch of mimosas, spend 50 bucks, or
Save it.
what would you do with that $50?
Pay a
Save.
bill or so.
Sorry?
I will save it. I will say,
Okay, Esperanza would save it. Somebody else?
I'll pay a bill.
Okay, I'll pay the bill. Oh, hey, maybe I will pay my electric bill so that I'm able to attend class and do my homework and stuff like that. Okay, that's a pretty stark contrast. What should I do? Pay my electric bill or go have a bunch of mimosas? Right? Now, for significant amounts of people around the world, stuff like that is a legitimate scenario. If I spend the money on something I enjoy, I might not have money to meet basic needs.
Yeah.
Which then gets us into what are the dollar and psychological costs of using credit for this purchase, right?
Ugh.
And you go and you go to brunch and then you're like, okay, now I can't pay my electric bill. What the heck's going to happen? Right? And that, if you were in a situation like that, and I'm sure a number of you either have been or are in a situation like that, it is very, very, very stressful. They say something like half of all marriages end due to financial issues. Or half of the marriages that end, like divorce, are a result of financial issues. And having been married, I can understand that. Consumer credit is a major force in the American economy. Did somebody send it to me, or did I just randomly see that? It was some guy talking about how he used the stimulus money to buy sneakers. Did
Oh
anyone
my
see that?
God.
I want to save that and use that in my Instagram. I mean, that, like, if you're getting stimulus money, and a lot of people in the country and a lot of you and your peers, this stimulus money is, I mean, I've had students say to me, if it weren't for that, I would be totally screwed. And I know a lot of people are in that situation, right? And I'm sympathetic to that. If that's the case, don't go spending that money on things like shoes. Obviously, if you're barefoot and don't have any shoes, okay, that's fine. But this is America. That's very, very, very rarely the case, right? And that was not the gist of this post. This post was some guy like, yeah, I got these badass brand new, expensive shoes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Advantages. So that's a major force in the American economy. I have a lot to say on this topic. Something like 65% of all of the spending done in the economy is due to consumer spending. It's too high, right? We're living on credit. There's too much credit, and that's it's basically like this giant false economy. I don't want to get too far off topic. Advantages of credit. Well, as we said at the beginning, you have immediate access to goods and services. You don't have to wait. You don't have to save. Permits purchase even when funds are low. Oh, a good deal came up, or something I really need, etc. Cushion for financial emergencies. Advance notice of sales. Again, in theory, you can make an argument that this is a good thing, but usually what it does, we'll see in the next slide, it leads to overspending. And again, when I ask these questions, everyone says, oh, overspending is my issue. Easier to return merchandise, sure. Convenient when shopping, yep, certainly convenient. It's a convenient way to ruin yourself financially. Advantages, continued, 1 monthly payment, safer than cash. You need it for hotels, car rentals, etc. So I told you this this scenario where I had this is a real scenario. So I had a friend, he had 45,000 in credit card debt. Right, so we're going to go to our handy dandy loan calculator here. Again, this is all real. I won't mention anyone's name, obviously. If he ever sees this, he knows who I'm talking about. All right, so he had 45,000 in credit card debt. You know what? I want to say it was 42,000. Let's call it 42,000. Was it over 20 years at something like 20%? What's that work out to? No, it was more than that. think it's 45. That's about right. Okay. No, it wasn't that low. Yeah, let's call it that. Okay. So we'll say 23% interest, roughly, blah, 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 right? Monthly payment, we'll call it $875 a month, right? He could make that payment. He didn't have a family or anything like that, good income, whatever, but he was, what we will see, he had maxed out his credit, which means that no one else would lend him money. So every year he made, we'll call it 70 grand, and he spent 85 grand. So every year he added money to his debt, and now he owes 45 grand in credit card debt, and all the credit card companies are like, hey, you know what? We're not going to lend you anymore. And he's like, oh man, well, I want to spend and a big chunk of my income. And so now he's at the point, now look at this, right? If he borrows this money, 45,000 for 20 years at 23%, he's going to pay the 45 grand back plus $164,000 in interest. Now, this was all credit card spending. This was like trips, bottomless mimosas, you know, all kinds of stuff like that. He wasn't buying stuff that would, a few things he would, but most of the stuff was just like ephemeral. It's gone the next day. So these weren't smart purchases. Well,
Is that a normal interest rate for credit card?
anyone want to answer that for me?
I was going to say that. It would be cheaper if he paid the interest in the credit card.
It would be cheaper what, Esperanza?
If he will pay the credit card.
No, these were credit cards.
Oh, but you say this was the 23%?
Yeah, because, you know, a number of these cards, he had hit the maximum, he had made late payments, you know, his credit score was pretty bad. So if you can, you know, if you can get a credit card with a 12, 15% interest rate, but once you start missing payments or, you know, new cards come in and they see that you already owe 35 grand, they'll offer you another card, but they're going to charge you a higher rate.
Oh, I see.
Right. So, you know, at this point, he was at about 23%. So I said to him, okay, you know what? What I will do is I will lend you, making up the amount. Basically, I will pay off what you owe. I'll give you another 3 grand so that you know, have some money saved so you don't basically run everything down to zero. So we'll call it $48,000 over 5 years at 10%, because he had a card at Chase. So he was paying Chase 25% interest. I had money in a savings account at Chase and was getting 0. I was like, okay, well, Chase is taking my money, paying me 0 or 1%, lending it to you, and you pay them 25%. That's a bit much, right? Chase is taking 24% out of the middle. So when I hit this calculate, okay, it wasn't that much. Yeah, it must have been about that. That's about what it was. We'll call it 47,000. It was basically like $100 more a month. So 47,500 over 5 years. Yeah, $1,000 bucks. Now his interest rate has been more than cut in half. If he can make these payments, which he had been doing, he will save, you see this total interest he would be paying me is 13 grand versus $164,000. And he will be debt free in 5 years. How did this work out?
He didn't pay you.
Not at all.
Wow.
He paid me for a year, little over a year, about 14 or 16 months. And then, you know what his first excuse was?
He has to go on vacation. He needs a,
What did he say?
he will need a vacation.
Yep. And why did it have to be then? Because he wanted to go to Cuba before Cuba really opened up to Americans. I have to get there before it opens up to all the Americans.
Wow.
Like, but you know, I mean, you don't have the money for it. No, I'm not going to pay you. And
Just
then
like that.
and then he went to Norway on another trip. He went to Austria on another trip. So basically he was just taking the piss. I had to sue him and I ended up suing him. We were friends for 40 years and now we don't speak anymore. But this is the type of behavior that people get into when they get addicted to living above their means. I think he had to borrow money from a relative to pay me. We didn't go
Would
to
you ever-
court. He owed me about, at the end of the day, he owed me about $20,000, and he borrowed the money from a relative to pay me back. So he owes that relative money, who, I don't know, whatever, that's his problem, not mine. But I think he was under the impression that I wouldn't take him to court. Because he's like,
Wow.
we've known each other since we were little kids. He'll never.
Would you ever do that again?
Sad.
Well, actually, what I found, there is a website where the problem is, what I told him is I said, I don't want you taking out any other credit cards. He's like, yeah, I promise I won't. Well, what happens? What do we have here in our slides? He says, oh, well, I need a credit card if I want to travel. I said, you owe me $45,000. You shouldn't be traveling. Pay off your debts first and then go on vacation.
Right.
The problem is I, as an individual, could not report this loan to the credit bureaus. Now, I found this old debts thing later on, and there's sort of a way around it where you can. But look at it from the credit card company standpoint. He owes all these people 45 grand. He's paying 25% interest. All of a sudden, boom, his debt disappears. It gets paid off. So what do you think the credit card companies do?
They increase the credit.
They're like, hey, you want another credit card? Here's a new credit card. It's even better. It's got these bells and whistles and air miles and this and that. You're going to need this to rent a car. And obviously, you know, given the situation he got himself into before, he's not very good at self-discipline when it comes to spending less than he makes. So he's like, oh, well, I'm just going to get one credit card just in case I need to rent a car. Right? Really, I'm just going to shoot this one line of heroin and that's it. Like, after that, honestly, just this one, you know, not line, one, whatever you call it, of heroin. I don't even know.
So
But that's
so
what it is.
what happens if since he's in debt, how does the court guarantee that you're going to get your money if he's in debt? And what if he got into other debt, like more credit cards aside from what he owed you?
Yeah, no, that's a good point. I mean, the issue is that he made, you know, by this time he was making $100,000 a year as a single guy, right? So he, you know, I think what would have happened is they, you know, would have arranged some kind of payment plan, and I would have made more money because he would have been charged interest on that. Somebody asked me, how does old debts work? Old debts allows you to report to the credit bureaus. So he didn't even think I'd do that. And I went through it and reported it, and it came up and said, you know, Nayeli, this isn't Nayeli, obviously in real life, Nayeli owes me $45,000. And then that hits Nayeli's credit report.
So they would
Not
add
only
it to the
credit score.
report to their report?
I'm sorry.
So they would add it to their report?
They would add it to that individual's credit report. Yeah. Because what happened is when I paid off all his credit cards, his credit score jumped like 150 points. And they're like, wow, this
Right.
guy's like, we don't know what he's done, but he's come up with $50,000.
Right.
Then, you know, 2 or 3 years later, once this whole process goes through it and I go on old debts, I don't know what his score was, but it obviously got a hit that all of a sudden these people are like sending him credit card offers. Then they see, boom, uh-oh, he owes somebody 25,000 bucks and hasn't paid in 3 years. So his credit, I don't know, his credit must have gotten absolutely trashed, and rightly so. There, disadvantages, temptation to overspend. It's not a temptation. Everyone overspends with very few exceptions. I won't say everyone. Many of us overspend. Again, it's like heroin,
Mhm.
right? If you can use heroin once or twice and kick it, apparently it's awesome. If you can get a credit card, pay it off in full every month, that's awesome. You get airline miles, et cetera, et cetera. But most of us, especially people who, are strapped financially, are not doing that. Let's look at some other things. This is all very recent data that I just downloaded. Who's running out of money between paychecks? Right? So these are percentage of people that live paycheck to paycheck. These are probably people who are running up bills on their credit cards and not paying them in full. Look at this. 32% of people who make over 200 grand a year live paycheck to paycheck. Even if you live in LA, the median household income is something like what? I don't know, 80,000? Anyone know? Median household income, Los Angeles, $62,000. So you're making triple what the median household makes, and you're still living paycheck to paycheck. But obviously, we all live in LA, right? We know how expensive it is. Can you imagine? Like, do you find it believable that someone lives in LA and makes 200 grand and lives paycheck to paycheck?
That's crazy.
Believable. Everybody wants to be like these famous rappers and stars.
Well, you don't even have to be a famous rapper or try to live like a famous rapper, man. I don't live like a famous rapper. And I'm just like, damn, it's expensive here, right? It's
Yep.
I know a guy, one of my neighbors pays 2,600 bucks a month for a one bed. That's easy
Whoa.
for you. That's easy. You want to go and rent a house in, kind of near Manhattan Beach, it'll cost you $4,000 or $5,000 a month. Or you guys know Culver City?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those,
Yep.
where the metro stop is there at Culver City?
Yeah.
Apparently, let's look here. I knew a guy, I was on the phone actually at outside a pokey place with my property manager. Oh, yeah, get the place ready for new tenants. And the guy says, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to, eavesdrop on you, but do you have an apartment for rent? And I said, yeah, but it's down in San Diego. He goes, oh, okay, because I'm living in Culver City and those new ones near the metro station, and they wanted $7 grand.
A month.
So I think that was
What?
short term. He was paying $5 grand, and they said, oh, well, you can go month to month, but it'll be $7 grand. So
That's crazy that
I
someone
see
would do that.
here 2,800 for a one bedroom. This is Urban Lux Rentals. The term luxury gets thrown around a lot. My place says it's luxury living. The pool's awesome and stuff like that, but here's the Urban Lux apartment so you guys can all see. Sorry about that long link, but these are yeah, looks like that kind of money. 2 and 3 beds are like $5 and $6 grand a month. Whew. That's a big chunk of change. So yeah, okay, $5 grand a month plus all your other expenses, you're looking at $70,000 a year just for your housing. Well, in that scenario, 200 grand goes very quickly. Okay. Failure to repay a loan, loss of income, value of property, your good reputation. Misuse of credit can create serious long-term financial problems, damage to family relationships, and a slowing of progress toward financial goals. Remember, does not increase total purchasing power. Unless what? Unless you die massively in debt, then okay, yeah, then you've spent more than you made in your life. You stuck it to the banks. Right? But ultimately, you're going to pay off your debts. So you pay them, you pay for stuff now, or you pay in the future. It's not going to increase the amount of stuff you can buy at the end of the day. And of course, it costs money.
Mhm.
So, and that's a great, who's this on the iPhone? Is that Edwin? Who wrote That's Like Two Mortgages?
Yes, that's
Yeah, that somebody posted something like that on Instagram that I saw. Some girl goes, "Oh yeah, the bank said I couldn't. I tried to buy a condo, and the bank said I couldn't make the payment of $900 a month. So instead, I'm paying $1,400 a month in rent."
Wow.
She's like, "Yeah, that makes a lot of sense." So closed-end credit, single loan for a specific purpose and a specified amount that you pay back in a specified period of time and payments of equal amounts. Installment sales credit, cash credit, single loan credit. Generally, we're thinking of something like a house. Now, obviously, what has led to all of these problems is the creative financing, right, in homes. And that's what led to the first mortgage crisis in 2007, 2000. Right? People used to borrow money for a house, 30-year fixed. And if you made your payments on time, your payments would never change. But then banks started getting creative. Hey, how can we get people to borrow more money? How can we get them to buy homes that are, on traditional metrics, less affordable? Oh, well, we'll change the financing. If you ever see the movie The Big Short, it's really good with Steve Carell and Ryan Gosling and a number of other people, and it explains a bunch of these things, right? And you get these people who own 6 homes, and they made 80, 100 grand a year and owned 6 homes that they couldn't afford.
Wow.
Mm.
Open-ended credit, you pay interest and finance charges if you do not pay the bill in full when due. Well, that's on closed-end credit too. And you use as needed until reaching a line of credit maximum. And if any of you have an account, where do you guys have things like, anyone have an account at like Credit Karma or maybe Experian has it, or any of these other ones like Nerd, I don't know, does NerdWallet have a thing where you can enter your details and see your credit score?
I have one Experian.
Okay, so Experian has it as well. A number of these things, FICO does, etc. You can see your credit capacity, which is basically the total amount of money that you can borrow. And if you're at 100% or close to it, people are like, oh, well, Esperanza's borrowed as much money as anyone is willing to lend her. I'm not going to lend her anymore.
Mhm.
7 out of 10 households carry 1 or more credit cards. Half of all users are convenience users and pay balances in full each month. That's me. I pay mine off every month. And now with the pandemic, the quote coin shortage, which I think is total BS. All this stuff's online, all the spending is, via cards and stuff like that. So that means I get an enormous bill at once a month, and I get all pissed off and, yell and stuff like that, because I don't know where, $37, $42, $68. Next thing I know, my bill's enormous. Like, how does that add up? Right? But it does. And this is one of the downsides, right? If you have cash, you see it go out, and then you see, oh, I only have 37 bucks in my wallet. I need to spend less. But if you just have a little piece of plastic, you don't see that.
Hmm.
Back to, let's see, I've got another one. Go. This is, oops, let me pull this up there. This is the amount of credit card debt outstanding. I don't have an updated one. A man at Wolf Street updates these quite frequently, but you look at this, right? Is this the sign of a healthy economy? Can you
Nope.
see my cursor here?
Yep.
Right? Is this the sign of a healthy economy?
Nope.
The country having $800
Trillion.
billion in credit card debt, and now
Oh my
it's
God.
probably 1.2 trillion.
Mm.
Right?
No.
No, of course not. But everyone, Trump, Biden, well, Biden, I don't think he knows what's going on, but Trump, Harris, or whoever's in charge of our country now will say, oh, the economy's doing great, it's picking up, it's getting better and better and better. This is not a sign of things getting better. This is a sign of people buying stuff that they cannot afford. Whether it's paying for essential living expenses, which is probably the worst case scenario. Oh, I have to
Mhm.
put my electric bill on a credit card, or I have to, buy food on a credit card because I don't have the money for it. I was out in Chino the other day. We got a new surfboard for my girlfriend. There's a cool shop out there. There was a food bank, and the line at the food bank was enormous. If this economy is so great, there would not be so many people outside the food bank. Right? And I'm sure you
Right.
guys get the emails from the school, right? At SMC,
Yeah.
they send out all these emails about, food bank and food pantries and stuff like that. And please take advantage of it if you do need it. I can find the link. I usually give it out when I teach in person, because there's a food pantry at El Camino where they have food and you can just go in and take food, and they've got canned goods and dry goods and stuff like that. Please, please, please take advantage of it. I don't know if it's open now. I should find out. So the people who don't use it for convenience or air miles or whatever, these are the borrowers carrying a balance, paying a finance charge. These are people paying on the low end 12%, on the high end 25+%. If you use it, I think I got. No, let's do that. Maybe it was online, whatever. But if you do a cash advance, so you use your credit card to take cash out, they charge you 30% on that.
Whoa.
Right? So you are getting
A lot on
absolutely hosed. Smart cards have an embedded computer chip, credit card, driver's license, healthcare ID. Then we'll have your vaccine information, who you voted for, all of that cool stuff. That'll be in there. I look forward to that day. No, I don't. That's the day I have to leave the country. Debit cards. This now, up until recently, this is what they would use almost exclusively in Europe. Does anyone here use a debit card for their spending?
I do.
Me. I do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Janice, you want to tell us how it works?
Well, you basically use is money you have available to you. That's your money. It's in the bank. You're not borrowing, it's your money. You
So,
already put that in the bank.
exactly. And so what it does, it's just like it directly takes money out of your account. And so my French friend, Pierre, he worked here in the US for, I don't know, only 1 or 2 years. He came here from France with his girlfriend, also French, and they moved it. They lived in LA for 1 or 2 years. We were talking about these things, and I was telling him about credit cards, and he goes, oh, I don't, that's weird. We don't have that. He's from a smaller town in France. No one uses those. He said, if I have $432 in my bank account, that's all I can spend.
Mhm.
He said, here in America, you can spend $5,000 and you only have $400 in your bank account. He said, that's crazy. He goes, I don't understand how or why you guys do that in America. I think the thing is we should have more debit card spending and less credit card spending, because then we wouldn't have 1.2 trillion of credit card debt in this country, which has gone up 50%. Right? The stock market's gone up, unemployment's gone down. By all sort of objective measures, you would think this number should not be increasing so rapidly. Right? This is a negative sign, I would say. All of the other signs, which I think are kind of rigged anyway, look positive. So why would you have this number going up so much?
Right.
How do you guys feel about having a computer chip in your card that has your license, your healthcare information, your medical history, insurance information, whether or not you've been vaccinated, who you voted for?
No.
I mean, a lot of people lose their cards all the time. I don't want all that information. If I lose my card, somebody else finds it, they have all the information they need for like fraud, you know what I mean?
So, do you have your camera on?
No.
So maybe you're not actually you. Maybe you did lose your card and someone's just logging onto this class.
Right.
Interesting. Interesting. Okay. Well,
I think me personally, I don't think it makes a difference as far as the credit card, the driver's license, but when it comes to like your medical history, that's a little different. I mean, because your driver's license, you always carry with you your credit cards, but I just don't think no one else should be seeing your medical history besides the doctor.
Yeah, I agree with you there. Like driver's license, yeah, okay, that's not a big deal because not half the time, but periodically they ask for it anyway. Especially in Europe, they always ask for your driver's license when you show a credit card. So, yeah. Okay, just wondering. Prepaid cards, they're like a debit card. They have money on them. You can use them. Like these are the ones you buy for a gift. You know, somebody you're like, oh crap, it's their birthday today, or it's my wedding anniversary. I forgot. I'll get my, get my spouse a Target card while I'm at Ralph's. Something like that. Retailer bankruptcy can make them worthless. That's probably rare. Usually what happens, I got an O'Neill one and then I went to, O'Neill, the surf stuff. And then I go to use it and they're like, oh, you can't use it to buy wetsuits. Okay, well, I want a pair of shorts, right?
Right.
Kind of sucked. It didn't say that obviously on the card when you bought it. Cannot be used for wetsuits. American Express, that's pretty much like a credit card. So obviously a lot of stuff is mobile now. How many of you guys use mobile apps? Just type yes for payment, like, use your phone to pay anywhere.
I do.
Yeah, number of you. I don't. Again, for me, I don't have any of my banking stuff in my phone. So just because I'm afraid I'll lose my phone and then someone's got access to all of my stuff. Or more likely, actually, I fall asleep and I wake up and my 18-month-old is, playing on my phone. So I should go and transfer somebody money or something like that. But that's just me. A home equity loan is a way to take value out of your house. So if you have a house that is worth $500,000, you want me to get the spreadsheet out? Does that make it easier to see?
Yeah.
Okay, so we will say it is 2021 and house value is 500,000. And you put down 100,000. And you have a loan of 400,000. Should we do it this way or do it a different way? Let's go like this. So you buy, this is you buy the house today. You pay $500,000. Well, you don't have, let's say, All right, let's say you come up with a $50,000 down payment. That is your equity in the house. You borrow 450. The total house purchase price is 500. This is how a traditional loan might work. Now, let's say next year, the house is worth 515. How much do you owe on your loan? Let's say you've been making the payment.
450, right?
No, 435.
It's going to go down. Let's actually find out how much it would go down. We'll do a loan calculator. So we borrowed how much? We borrowed 450,000
Yeah.
over 30 years at, we'll call it 3.5%. So we're paying $2,000 a month. You got to look at the amortization schedule, May of 2021. 440,000 is what you owe on the loan. Take my investments class. We go through these amortization tables so that you fully understand what they mean. If you don't understand that right now, that's okay. Don't worry about it. We're just going to focus on that amount. So, can someone explain this to me? What has happened here in 1 year?
You
The
gain
value of
equity.
the house went up?
The equity.
What does that mean, gained equity, though?
Value of your home has gone up.
So the
your
value
house
of
is-
your home has gone up. It's gone up from 500 to 515. You have paid down part of the principal. Principal is the amount of money you borrowed. Now, remember, you've been paying $2,000 a month for how long? 12 months. So you've paid 24,000, but you've only paid off 10,000 of the loan. What happened to the other 14,000?
Interest.
Exactly. That was interest you were paying the bank. So again, we go into greater detail in this in my investments class. You can watch those videos or take my class if you want to learn about it. But the important thing to know is you've paid 24 grand. 10 grand has come off the amount you owe, plus the house has increased in value. So in 2021, if you were to sell your house, how much cash would you have left? Let's say you just bought the house for 500,000, put down 50,000, borrowed 450, and you turn around the next day and go, oh, you know what? I need to sell the house. I'm going to sell it for 500. How much cash would you have left in your bank account?
15,000.
Yeah, 50,000, right? Assuming no transaction costs and everything like that. What if you wait a year and sell your house?
75.
Exactly. The amount, the equity in your house means how much is left that belongs to you, right? Now is 2025. They've redeveloped your area. Everything's going great. Your house is worth 800,000. Well, I'll go over, I won't make you guys look at it. I'll go down to May of 2025. You owe 412,000. We'll call it 410. Is this number, before I copy the formula, is this number going to be 75,000, more than 75, or less than 75?
More than 75.
More.
So now you have 390,000 of equity in your house. What does that mean in, let's use student-centered language? What does that mean in student-centered language? You have 390,000 of equity.
you will only, your,
So it's basically like you are making money off your house if you were to sell it.
If you were to sell your house, how much cash would you walk away with?
390.
Exactly. Now, do you want to sell your house? Maybe you enjoy where you live.
No. Let's say
You're
no.
like, okay, now the net value to me of my house is 390, but the only way for me to get that is to sell my house. Well, I don't want to sell my house. I like living here.
Refinancing?
What you can do is take out another loan. So that we'll say 2025. A few months later, your house is worth 800. And instead of owing 410, you go, you know what? I'm going to borrow another 200,000. So you would have the original loan of 410, another loan of 200,000. See that? And now the net value of your house, the equity in your house is 190,000. But you've taken out, well, it wouldn't look like that actually, but you would have $200,000 cash on hand. This is what led to, this is one of the major things that led to the mortgage crisis in 2008. So if we look at, we will look at what is called the Case-Shiller Los Angeles Index. This is a guy who's a professor at Yale, Robert Shiller, who has created this index, and it looks at the 20 major cities in the US, right? So we will say in the year 2000, the index was at 100. And what are we going to say is the home price then? We'll call it $200,000, just for argument's sake. By 2006, it was 272, which equates to what? $550,000 roughly. So if you purchased a home in 2000 for 200 grand, oops. Sorry. If you purchased a home in LA for 200 grand here, by 2006, it was worth 550,000. Questions on that? Let's go back and change the numbers.
it happened to my son in 2008. He lost his house because of that.
So let's say you had a loan of 175,000. You had 25,000 in equity. Now it's 2006. Your home is worth 550,000. Right? Now your equity in 6 years has gone from 25 grand to 375 grand. And let's say you go, okay, well, you know what? It's 2006. I want to take some of the money out of my house. So you say, well, well, you wouldn't have 175 here. You had 6 years. Shall we do it for real? And I find out what the actual numbers are? Who's lost? Just type yes in the chat. Okay, Nick, help me. What do you what's where did I lose you? So your home was worth 200,000 when you bought it in 2000.
Mhm.
You put 25,000 down and you borrowed 175,000. 6 years later, you've paid off 15,000 of your loan, so you only owe 160, but the house has increased in value to 550,000. Now, if you were to sell your house and walk away, you would have $390,000 in cash. So you've hit a home run. But you're like, hey, you know what? I don't want to move, actually. I like where I live, et cetera, whatever reason. So what you can do is you can say, oh, okay, well, what I'm going to do, I owe 160,000. I'm going to take out a new loan for 250,000. So now I owe a total of 410 on a house that's worth 550. Call it 2007, a year later. Questions on that?
Mhm.
Let me finish, and then we can, where am I? Google Chrome. All right, now we're back looking at the Case-Shiller index. So this went down to, by 2009, it went to 160. So the house was down to 325,000 in value. So now we're 2009. How much do you owe?
410.
We'll call it, yeah. It's 2 years. We'll say you,
Maybe 385.
yeah, we'll say 400. Just for argument's sake. Now, you are what's known as underwater. If you owe more on the house than it is worth.
Mhm.
Why? As in, what led to this situation?
Because the house value is less, decrease the value of the house.
It's less than what?
Oh, wait.
No, you're absolutely right. But if you had not borrowed more money,
Less than the
you would only owe by this point, whatever, 150,000. So what we'll do here is we'll say 2009 alternate scenario. House is worth 325. You owe 150. Hey, your house is still worth $175,000. What is the difference between this 2009 scenario and that 2009? Do you guys understand what happened between here and here?
that the loan is more than the value of the house. It's the loaner is higher than the value of the house.
Well, that's what happened between here and here,
Yeah.
2007, 2009. But what did you do here in 2007?
You get another loan.
You took out another loan. Your house was worth a lot more, so you borrowed more money. Now, what did a lot of people do with this extra money?
Buy another house.
Yeah, a lot of them bought another house. Oh, hell, my house has almost tripled in 6 years. I'm going to buy another house. I'm going to keep the one I live in, and I'm going to take a loan out and buy another house.
On
Then
my,
if it triples again in the next 6 years, well, this house is going to be worth over $1 million, and my new one will be over $1 million. Is that what happened?
Nope.
now,
No, they all went down. What did other people do with that money?
remodel.
Buy other things.
No, I'm talking about my son. He did more, he tried to build another apartment. And
Oh,
this-
okay. So a similar kind of thing. So he was exactly geared to the housing market. Now, that at least you're buying or building or whatever, a hard asset that's going to keep its value on a, somewhat longer time horizon or increase in value. A lot of people said, you know what, I'm going to do a luxury around the world vacation.
They bought
I'm
new
gonna
cars.
buy a jet ski. I'm gonna buy a brand new Mercedes. I'm gonna buy, whatever. Well, any of those other things, the house being the exception that Esperanza's son did, all those other things, a jet ski, a vacation, what do you have to show for that the next year? Well, you have nothing in the asset column, and you just have this increased liability. Obviously, someone's not going to borrow an extra $250,000 to buy jet skis. That's a hell of a lot of jet skis. In that case, you're opening a dealership, right? You're not going to spend that much money on a vacation. But, people were doing this on a smaller scale, and they were doing it all across the country. And people were borrowing money and then, I won't say wasting it. From a financial standpoint, they were wasting it. But, okay, I've got a family going on vacation with my kids. I mean, some of my best memories with my parents who are still alive, but some of my best memories were our vacations, or are our vacations. They still are my best memories, right? So I can see the value in that from a financial standpoint. Okay, borrowing money to go on a vacation, financially, that's not a smart move.
Right.
You can argue, oh, well, experiences count, whatever. We're not going to talk about that here. That's true value. But, on a nationwide scale, people were doing this and they were using their homes like an ATM. Okay, now I'm going to take out this extra $250,000 loan. And then I've got an extra 250 grand cash here. And what do? Have any of you ever been in a situation where you have a bunch of cash sitting in your bank account?
No,
Nope.
nope.
When you do, don't forget me. Lesson number one. But you'll find that, okay, I'll buy that. Oh, I'll spend the money on that. I'll spend the money on that. And you're like, damn it, where did all that money go?
Mhm.
Right? So, yeah, unfortunately, I've been in that situation. And it's not fun because then you're like, damn it, I just took out a loan and now a big chunk of that money's gone and I really can't tell you where it went. Right? So that's kind of a very quick recap of how people using their homes like an ATM or taking equity out of their home or cash out of their home, how that led to this problem.
Yeah.
And especially if, Esperanza, I mean, are you willing to tell us what happened with your son? So he took out another loan, built another apartment with it in his.
He lost. He went to foreclosure because he got to the point that the loan was almost the double of the value of the house.
Oof. Yeah. And was this in California?
Yeah, here in Los Angeles. And
if I remember correctly, he can then just turn in the keys to the bank and leave, right?
Yeah.
Did he lose both his homes?
Yeah, both.
Right. So, I mean, this is so common. So one of my condos in San Diego, I bought for 100,000. The woman who, well, I won't say sold it to me. It was a short sale, which is how they resolve something before it goes to foreclosure. Foreclosure is when the bank takes over your home, because you can't make the payments. But she and her husband had I think they had 3 or 4 places that they paid 300,000 each for. And she made like 60 grand a year. And her husband made 60 grand a year. And they had, call it 4 homes that they paid 300,000 each for. So they had $1.2 million of real estate that they bought in like 2005, 2006. And I don't know what happened to her other places, but the one I bought was the one she was living in. I paid 100,000 for it. 2 years before, she paid 300,000 for it. Right? They got divorced. She and her husband lost all of their homes, and they got divorced. And I let her live in my place at low rent for a while until she just got like, she's like, this is wrong and that's wrong and that's wrong. I'm like, man, you lived here for 3 years. If you didn't fix the stuff, you didn't fix the stuff when you lived here, why should I have to pay to fix it, right? Like, but I can understand, right? Like, she must have been really, really pissed off. And a lot of people got wiped out like that. And it's, this is why people are, the Bernie crew and stuff are understandably upset, because the banks did not get wiped out, right? The banks got bailed out by the government, which is funded by the taxpayers, which is us. So they got bailed out with our tax money. We didn't.
Yep.
So this is why people are upset, and I think it's totally understandable. And if you go into a bank, they'll say, oh, well, we paid that money back. Remember, they paid that money back by paying you 0 interest on your checking and savings accounts. And someone a few years ago did an analysis, and he's like, oh, if interest rates were still back at 4 or 5%, banks would have had to pay out this many hundreds of billions of dollars in interest to depositors like us. Obviously, they don't have to do that now. Okay. Anyway, is that useful information for you guys?
Yes.
Yes.
You like talking about this? It's kind of it's very related to it, but it's a long kind of diversion. I know we have only one meeting a week, but I think it's important to understand this. And this to me is the point of education, seeing what happened and being like, oh, now I understand what happened and how people got in trouble. And where are house prices now?
Oh. That's a good
Well,
question.
if we look,
No idea.
this is, yeah. Well, no, we can just open it up, right? We go back here. So the index peaked at 272, and now we're up at 320.
Whoa.
Right? Now, the funny thing is, over this time, incomes have kind of gone like up a little bit, like where my cursor is, not where the line is. So there's this huge disconnect, as we all feel, between house prices are so expensive.
Yeah.
Right? We all feel this. Questions on this before we move on? So you can borrow up to 85% of the appraised value, right? So the home appraises at a much higher price. You can take out a much bigger loan. The interest is tax deductible. That's an advantage. But you can see what happens if you get into too much trouble. This is important to read and understand, protecting yourself against fraud. Again, my dad is 70, he'll be 79 this year. And like half the time his phone rings, it's somebody asking for a social security number to try and scam him.
And he gave it to them?
I'm sorry?
And he gave the information to them?
Oh yeah, sometimes he does.
Mhm.
He's like, oh, Ike, somebody called me and they said there's a problem with my account. And I'm like, Dad,
Oh no.
Yeah.
don't do that. So
so
again,
sad.
anyone who calls you, treat them like a scammer,
Yes.
right?
Mhm.
Just use that as your general rule. Don't give out your info to anyone who makes the call to you.
I just
Right.
don't answer the phone.
My friend, yeah, exactly. That's the best solution.
when
My
they-
friend in London, actually, I can't believe she fell for this, but she got a call. Oh, hey, did you buy $3,000 worth of et cetera, et cetera? She's like, no. They're like, okay, well, there's a problem, and the merchant is saying that it's fraudulent, and they're gonna go after the person whose card it is, and this is your card. And the girl's like, my friend's like, oh, well, I didn't make that purchase. And they said, okay, we'll tell you what, we're going to transfer you to the police department, and
Uh-huh.
they will handle it so that you're not charged with a crime. She's like, okay. So then they're like, this was in London. They're like, hello, this is Metropolitan Police Department. Yes, we've been made aware of your situation. Long and short, the police are like, okay, we're going to send someone over to pick up your debit cards from you.
What?
What's your address? And she gave them her debit cards. And the
No, no, no. Oh my God.
They are, my aunt is 82 and she lives in New York. And all the time, I open the line, online Spectrum for her account, and I
Mhm.
block 82 phone calls.
Yeah, wow.
So they call her, they asking for what is your mother main name? And she gave it to her. I say, who is going to ask for that on?
Yeah, exactly. No, but Jorge, I mean, it's like, a lot of people are, and you have to remember, like someone like my dad is very kind, very trusting. He was
Yeah.
a monk
What
for
happened?
4 years, right? So he's like, for him, it's not natural to him that people are trying to screw you and cheat you and stuff. So again, just don't give out any info to anyone who calls. Oh, I'm from your credit card company. Okay, cool. I'll call you guys back. And you hang up and you dial the number on the back of your card.
Yeah.
Right? I actually lost my card. Yeah, I think I left it in a restaurant down in San Clemente, and I just went online, and it takes like 2 minutes less to cancel it on your online. So it's pretty
Yep.
easy. It was like, oh, how the hell am I going to call? I don't have the credit card to call the number on the back. But it's pretty easy. So just please, 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 please don't do that. We laugh, but so many of us fall victim to scams regardless, right? And just be very, very careful.
We should just remember that if they call us, they shouldn't be asking you your information because
Exactly.
they're calling you.
Exactly.
So
Never
unless
give
you're
it out
calling
to
them,
anyone
then-
who calls you.
Especially Social Security.
Yeah, exactly. That's a big one too. So here, review monthly bank and credit card statements. Yeah, I'm sure you're supposed to do that. I never do. I do, and then I'm like, what the hell? And they're all my charges, but that still upsets me. Yeah,
You're like
keep it
looking for a
private.
problem and it's like, nope, I did them.
Yeah, exactly. And this is the funny thing about, what we were talking about with Edwin, keep, personal information private. Like, why should that all be on an ID card? Right? Never give your
Yeah.
password, never do, just basic things. You can read over those. That's probably enough for today. We can pick up the rest of this next week. Let me just mark down where we were. Finish measuring, and now we're going to talk about credit capacity. 618. Credit capacity and how much you can borrow. Thoughts, questions, comments? Are all of you? Well, I know you're not all on there. Why aren't you guys all following my Instagram page?
I forgot.
I forgot. Okay.
This is funny.
Who was that said they forgot?
Oh, me.
Okay. Should
I'm
I
gonna do it right now.
follow you guys back? I don't know what the protocol is.
If you like, if you want to.
No.
Oh, but you don't have, we don't have nothing to teach you.
That is not true at all. That is 100% not true. I honestly, many of my classes, I learn as much as you guys do. And that's why I love teaching, because I learn so much. And especially, when we start talking about things like mobile payments, and, different technologies and stuff, I get
Cat's in class.
so much stuff from my students. in
Now
terms
we
of
need to be
knowledge.
out in your room for a minute. Please go to your room. You're okay, baby. Go. Love you.
Okay, sorry about that. So yeah, so no, I learned tons from you guys. Anything else?
Just followed you.
Good, good, good. Cool. But we're going to talk more about this next week. If you get a chance, please log in Thursday morning for Steve's thing, because you can ask questions. Steve's such a nice guy. Yeah. I look, this whole Dogecoin or Dogcoin or whatever you call it, like I don't,
Yes.
you know, what's the advantage? I mean, this is all this, you know, you can make an argument for Bitcoin. Oh, it's a finite supply. It's the, you know, leader, et cetera, et cetera. I still think Bitcoin is a giant scam. I mean, I can see the value of blockchain, but again, like if any of you have an IT background, like let's sit down and we'll make Tulip Coin and we'll see if we can get people to invest in Tulip Coin. I mean, what is the utility of Dogecoin? If Bitcoin or Ether are going to be electronic payment blockchain systems, then what is the value there? You know how many of these coins there are? How many like distinct coins there are? There are over 9,000. So why would Dogecoin have any value as opposed to, you know, I met some guys who Odua was their coin. Why would Dogecoin be more valued than Odua? So have a think. But we can
So-
talk about these things.
Right now, the Dogecoin is unlimited,
Yeah, right. It's not even a finite supply.
but the Bitcoin, there, I think the 21 million, something like that.
Yeah. So I can
And
see the advantage of. Go ahead, Rosen.
some of them are loose. Nobody know where they.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Right. So there's certainly advantages to that. But again, we can talk about that later on. I don't want to use up our valuable class time. To me, I do not see how the US government will continue to allow Bitcoin to become an alternative currency or payment system. There's no way they can allow that. You know, and I think that's,
I think for that purpose they making a lot of money.
say that again.
They producing a lot of bills, money,
What do you mean?
because they wanna. I don't know how to say it. They wanna stop supporting the Bitcoin, and they produce money, the US dollars, so they can block the Bitcoin.
I mean,
Somehow.
Bitcoin as a currency would pretty much eliminate the US dollar if people were using Bitcoin, because it has attractive properties that dollars don't, being finite primarily, right? But what that means for the US government, imagine everything is replaced by Bitcoin, right? So you use Bitcoin for everything, you don't use dollars. That is the end of this.
Professor Cinco,
Yes.
I was trying to grasp my mind around the whole concept of Bitcoin,
Mhm.
and I've been listening to some experts talk about it on the radio, and
Mhm.
even the hosts that were having the experts on, the host was even trying to understand the concept of Bitcoin, period. And after listening to, or while listening to the radio and the gentleman talking about it, isn't the purpose, it seemed like the purpose of Bitcoin and why it was created, it would seem like it was created to replace the dollar. The goal of it is to,
I
you know,
don't know. I mean, I can see the attractiveness of it as a replacement, right? The US dollar isn't backed by anything. Bitcoin isn't backed by anything. but at least Bitcoin is allegedly finite. But if you look at finite and you look at this, right? The US government collects 3.5 trillion in tax and they spend 7.8 trillion. Well, you can't do that with Bitcoin.
Right, so Bitcoin is, how can I say it? It eliminates cash.
It would, I mean, I think the goal of many Bitcoin people is to replace US dollars with Bitcoin. And it's, in that sense, I think what they're hearkening back to is a gold standard where, hey, you can only have so much currency in circulation that is backed by a hard asset. But Bitcoin's not even a hard asset. I mean, Bitcoin ultimately is value destructive. You have to use resources to create it. You would be better in that. It would be better in that scenario to just say like, oh, we're going to have 21 million paper dollars and that's all we will ever make. You know, but you can't trust anyone with that, with paper. So I don't know. Again, to me, this explains why Bitcoin will never, at least easily, replace the dollar, because the US will go to war to prevent this from stopping, spending 2 to 3 times of what they collect. Because otherwise, the US government, to spend 8 trillion, has to collect 8 trillion in taxes. And they have to get that from us. Watch my Instagram channel. We're going to be talking a lot more about taxes. Yeah, Sid, I don't think it's digital gold. I don't think there's any utility to it, but I don't know. We'll see. We will see. But okay, I don't want to keep you guys. I have office hours tomorrow, 5:30 to 6:30. If anyone wants to chat about Bitcoin or whatever, if that doesn't work for you, hit me up. We'll arrange a different time for you to chat with me. I have office hours, but I know that doesn't work for everyone. So we'll set up a specific time if that doesn't work for you.
Okay. Good night and thank you.
Anything else?
Have a good night.
Okay, good night, guys. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Night.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye. Good night, everybody.
Good night.